Time is now 6 o'clock. This time we're going to call this meeting to order. This being the August meeting of the Dawson County Planning Commission. We will begin with a roll call. Ms. Leah, when you get our screen ready. Very good. Also begin with invocation from Neil Hornsey, if you would please, Neil.
Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful county we live in, and I pray you can just guide us to make the right decisions for its citizens. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Gentlemen, I assume you've had opportunity to look over the minutes from the July 15th Planning Commission meeting. Is there any amendments to be made? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moving a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
I messed it up.
Motion is carried 5-0. Thank you. The agenda has been presented before us tonight. We have, as you look down through the agenda, under I, it says adjournment initially, but this is where the planning update should go. It's been requested that VA 25-13 and VA 25-14 be flip-flopped, so Scott Williams will be heard before the Stansbury. If that's okay with you, I've been requested by Mr. Williams. So if that'd be okay, is there a motion as to such?
Motion to shift VA 2514 to the first item.
Second.
Moving a second in the change of the agenda. All in favor? And the motion is carried. If you're here to speak tonight, either in favor or in opposition to any application, and you have contributed more than $250, if you are here tonight to speak either in favor or in opposition of any application, and you have contributed more than $250 to any local official campaign, there's a form that needs to be filled out, and Leah has it at the desk in front of you. This time we'll begin with VA 25-14. Scott Williams has filed an application with appropriate authorities seeking relief from the requirements of the Dawson County Land Development Code. Article 3, Chapter 121-67. The applicant requests a 5-foot reduction from the required 10-foot side setback to remain no less than 5 feet from both the left and right side property lines for the construction of a detached garage. If you would please write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. For the record, please state your name.
Scott Williams.
And if you would, give us a brief presentation as the need for the variance.
Okay, the way our house is set up, it's one of the lake properties, and we moved in 2020, and the house has been remodeled a few times, but the lots are very narrow where we live, and the house has a garage that holds only one car. So my wife gets that spot and I'm outside, and we also don't have any room for any kind of, or I can work on the car or anything like that. So I'm trying to build a small, the smallest detached garage that I can that would be big enough for my F-150. And so I can pull it all the way in there. So what I've I've got a pretty sharp pencil on this one. I've measured to the line and everything. It's been recently surveyed. The next door neighbor to our west, to the left, is about to build. He's going to build to 10 feet and with his house 10 feet. And then we're just trying to get for the detached garage to 5 feet to respect the 15-foot minimum. So that's kind of the synopsis of what we're trying to do.
And what's the dimensions of your garage to be built?
Okay, so I have rough dimensions of what I'm going to try to build, and it's at the backside, which the lot opens up just slightly as it goes towards the lake. So I'm going to make that from outer edge to outer edge right at 16 feet, and the front edge is going to be around 13 and a half feet wide. And the interior, to get the truck in there and be able to open the doors without hitting the walls, I need to have a 14-foot interior where the doors are. So I'm cutting as closely as I can and respecting the property line.
If I understand correctly from your letter of intent, the only other place that you could build, you've got field line or proposed field line?
That's yeah. The backup field line is in the front of the house, and our driveway drops down significantly towards the house. That would be the only other place we could build. We just don't have any other place. But there is that is the required backup field line, and if you go further towards the lake, then you run into the septic and the current field line.
Okay. Are there any other questions to the applicant? Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, this time we'll close it to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Move in a second to approve. Motion is carried. Sir, you have your variance. Now, prior to calling for the next variance application, I feel it's necessary to disclose that I own property adjoining this applicant's property. I feel it's needful for me to recuse myself to prevent any conflict of interest. Neil Hornsey, please take the chair.
Okay, the next item is VA 2513. Craig Stansberry, Dawsonville Holdings, EN LLC, has filed an application with the appropriate authorities seeking relief from the requirements of the Dawson County Land Development Code, Article 3, Chapter 133-6, Public Accessibility to Roads, 133-62, Privately Maintained Streets or Roads, and Chapter 22 to 26, Fire Flows Minimum Requirements. The applicant requests complete exemption from the requirements of each section for the development of a subdivision on approximately 190-acre surveyed portion of parcel 078009. Subject property is currently zoned RA, Residential Agricultural. Is there someone here to speak for the applicant? Please write your name and address on the pad of paper and state your name.
My name is Dusty Loman, registered surveyor.
Okay, please present your variance request.
Sure. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dusty Loman. I'm a registered surveyor. No, I'm not the property owner, but I'm here so I can speak about some of the technical aspects of this and just kind of what they're wanting to do. So essentially what my client is trying to propose is there's a 190-acre piece of their approximately 1,135 acres that they have on the kind of northeastern portion of the county. For those of you just putting more of the vernacular, this is a portion of Iron Mountain Park, essentially. This particular piece that they're looking at right now is detached and not really contiguous or connected to the rest of Iron Mountain. It's kind of isolated by Little Mountain Road, and it fronts down on an easement to Tanner Hall as well. But essentially what they're trying to do is, this is the first piece of the owner is wanting to liquidate his holdings in Dawson County. So as of right now, this particular piece, they're wanting to divide it up into 10-acre lots or bigger. Right now it's zoned RA, which is only, RA would allow for 5-acre lots, correct? So what they're wanting to do is actually increase that lot size. And the reason being is they're wanting to keep the area very rural at the end of the day. Keep it as much like it is right now as you can. Now, of course, I live in Dawson County myself. I live on the north end of the county. I have lived in this county, was raised my whole life. My family has been in this county since before this county existed, when it was still the Indian Territory. So I've got deep roots in the area. This is essentially my backyard as well. But that being the case, this will get developed at some point here very soon. And if we can get it to where we can maintain these larger lots, then that is a good thing for everybody, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, that's better than 5 10-acre lots are, right? So that will keep it real similar to everything around that area. Now, the requests that we've put forth with the different types of the pieces of ordinance we're wanting relief from, the ones that are, if you take a look at section 133-62 and 61, those are primarily included because there's language about publicly maintained roads and a few other requirements in there. This first section, if you pull it up, it's kind of hard to see, but essentially there's a few lots that will access off some private drives, but no more than what would currently qualify under a minor plat. So there's not more than 5 off each individual private drive currently. The rest of it will be accessed off existing public road. They're proposing about dedicating the required right-of-way for the county minimum wherever it fronts county road, which is in keeping with regular ordinance standard. Now, there is some lots on the one corner that have already been divided and approved that are less than 10-acre lots. Those have already been done previously as a minor plat. They're shown here for graphical purposes so that you can see what they are, because they're a part of this 190 acres that already exists. But again, they have already been approved and recorded. They've not been sold, so they're not individual tax parcels yet, but they have been approved and recorded last year. So what they're proposing now is to take and create the rest of these lots. And again, these are all 10 acres plus, a couple of them closer to 15. And, the reason they're asking for the road stuff is because these are going to be private drives. They want them to stay private drives, not public, where everyone can drive in and out of here and everything else. But of course, they'll be appropriately sized to where you can get access and get back and forth when people do build. The big ask at this point that our client wants to not have to do is the requirement that actually falls under fire flow for our fire marshal, to where you have to put municipal water and fire hydrants in that location. Now, there's 2 reasons that is something that is not desired to be done. The primary reason most people would assume would be cost. And yes, it would be rather expensive to put all that in there. And that is a consideration. I would be telling you all a tale if that wasn't the case. But the current owner of the property who's trying to liquidate it, and the developer who's working on trying to get it and develop it, they want to keep this rural. They don't want to see this turn into what South Dawson County looks like. And the first step to that, for those of you who don't know, is municipal water. As soon as it's there, there is a vehicle for rezonings to come later and re-subdivide it into much smaller lots. And we could sit here and say that, well, if it's zoned RA, you can't go less than 5 acres, but that has not panned out for the entirety of Dawson County on the south end so far. Because once that happens and there's enough money that comes involved, things happen. That's just how the world works. So the current property owner, again, and the developer do not want to put municipal water in this area, because it affects more than just these lots they're asking to subdivide. If that happens, all of the properties that are accessed adjacent to this line when it goes in could be susceptible for this much higher density development. Not to mention that we're talking about 1,135 acres here. Now, again, as someone who lives in this county, I will tell you that I'd much rather see 10-acre lots there than 1-acre lots, or worse, if they get sewer as well, if they ever decided to do that. Now, granted, there's no sewer anywhere near there, but municipal water under rezoning would allow for much higher density. And the goal, again, at this point, is to not have to do that, because the goal is to not have that higher density. The goal is to keep it rural. Now, our illustrious fire chief back here, he's going to tell us that we need those fire hydrants to put out fires, and we needed to keep the residents safe. And I applaud him for his job because he's doing just that. But I'd counter that to say that in this area right now, there's no fire hydrants. There's no municipal water. I live in that area, and I'm perfectly safe and fine and very satisfied with the good work that our EMS people have been able to provide as it is right now. And if they can provide good service now, I have no doubt they can continue to provide that great service in our area of the county without municipal water. Again, this isn't supposed to be like a bashing session on municipal water, by no means. But the premise being proffered here today and the big ask for that particular ordinance and why it's being asked for going forward is to keep it rural as much as we can. And if we can get the ask is to, if you allow us to not have to do that for my client, that they're willing to go to 10-acre lots on this to decrease the density. And again, the whole premise is to keep it rural, keep municipal water out, and keep that specter of possibility of much higher density for being in that area as long as we can. That's it.
Is there a, how many lots are actually proposed?
If you'll zoom into the bottom right there, I believe it shows,
Not including the 5 that are already.
right. Now they're numbered consecutively, including the 5, but the highest number lot will be right there at the bottom. I can't. Yeah, 13. So 13 minus 5.
So 8 lots is what the,
That's correct.
Is
8 new lots right now.
is the variance request for the 190 acres or for 1,035?
It is for the 190 acres, but considering it is for the entirety of, it's considered, it's still part of that entire parcel. That is why it's had to be listed the way it did through the variance application request through planning and zoning. Right now, the only thing they want to do is this. Now, in the future, is there going to be more things to come? Yes. But this one's a little unique because there's no need to build new public roads to access this property. It can all be done under what would normally be a minor plat. The only difference is they've already done one, and they're wanting to kind of move forward to kind of get geared up to do different things. And that being the case, they need relief to move forward now. But again, that's the reason for those other pieces of ordinance to be removed again, is because there's not to be any new road construction, just private driveways. And most of these, or several of them, will actually access off the existing public roads that are already there. And the other ones that will access off of private drives will not exceed the minimum 5 under current ordinance standards.
Any questions for the applicant?
So the plan is down the road, he's going to liquidate the whole property.
That's correct, in Dawson County. And I say 1135, that's plus or minus upon final determination. When the survey was initially done, it encompassed both sides of the county line. So as it goes on, the county line will be finally determined, which that is the known
Do you have
thing,
any idea what he wants to do with the rest of it?
to liquidate it and to continue to sell it to whoever wants to buy it.
Yeah, are these 8 lots or 13 that we're talking about, are they going to be built, houses built and then sold, or are they going to just sell the lots?
Just sell the lots. The premise being, or what the marketing aspect would be for, small farms. If 10 acres or more, you've got room to do, and under RA, that they don't want to change the zoning, so that you can do, regular residential type farming, stuff, which is, there's a decent market for that right now. And again, to try to keep things in keeping with the area that's there already.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the variance? Anyone here to speak in favor? All right, seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition? All right, please come forward and write your name and address on the paper there and state your name.
Okay. My name is Terry Bradley. I live at 448 Dollar Road, and I'm not highly educated, but I've got common sense. And my first question is, this plat at the very bottom says major subdivision for Little Mountain Estates Phase 1. If they don't want it to be a subdivision, number one, why was it listed as a subdivision. Number two, he just said that they want to liquidate. Well, as it is zoned now, anybody can sell 5 acres of their property or more without it being in a subdivision. So that just gets your mind going. My biggest thing is I want to know, right now, there's 13 tracks there. What's to say if he gets this approval, down the road, he decides, man, I can't sell these big tracks. Nobody's got this much money. And him to come back and say, you know, I don't want to sell 13 tracks. I want to sell more, twice as much, 3 times as many. Make it a subdivision and put 100 houses up there instead of 13.
Well, they'd have to be 5 acre minimum at least.
That's what I'm saying. If it was 5 acre tracts, he could sell 25 acre tracts, which would mean 20 homes instead of 13. And the issue there is being on a mountain. When we moved in 2001, we had to drill for 2 days to hit water. If you put 13 houses there, it doesn't concern me. But when you're talking more and more houses and more wells, what's going to happen to the water table? If they get up there and put a bunch of houses, there's nothing saying that my well won't be deep enough anymore, and I don't have the funds to spend $20,000, $30,000 to keep going deeper than 650 feet. So it's just, in layman's terms, it's fishy. If it's not a subdivision, why is it surveyed as a subdivision? If they wanted to sell tracts, just sell tracts. Hey, Fred, I'll sell you a 5 acre tract. Hey, Tom, I'll sell you a 20 acre tract. Why did it have to be surveyed as a subdivision? And then the scarier part is phase 1. And I know he said he's got 1,300 and something acres left. There's so many questions. And the other questions that I do have for him, which is going to be the main road that people are going to be coming off of? Is it going to be Tanner Hall? Is it going to be Little Mountain? Or is it going to be Dollar Road? So there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions after me.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Please come forward, write your name and address on the paper, and state your name.
Try not to be too loud here. My name's Steve Haney, and I live right Dollar Road across from Terry and Tony. Been up there since about 96. And I'm sure all y'all are, I don't know if y'all have ever traveled those roads up there and looked at that and stuff, but my question is going to be, and again, it's not necessarily against his variances, but approving this for subdivision purposes or land sales or whatever, that those roads are going to require a tremendous amount of work, you know, to be passable for that type of use and stuff. And I'm just curious as who's going to bear the responsibility of that? Is it going to be the developer? Is it going to be us taxpayers? You know, somewhere there's got to be somebody's going to be responsible for that cost. And, you know, we've been up there. It's been quiet. We like it. I don't know if any of y'all familiar with something that happened up there a couple months ago about a noise issue. Dawson County Sheriff's Department was involved, you know, for some stuff that was going on up at Iron Mountain in the 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know that, you know, the folks are going to be looking at these 10 acre, 15 acre tracts, build a nice home, are going to be real interested in that once they find out what's going on the other side of the hill there. You know, the Sheriff's Department was telling us that night when they come out there, they had complaints 11 miles away from it. So, you know, again, it's hard to go against somebody that's got that much land and the availability of doing that. But my concerns are just about, again, if, you know, you can split it up and do whatever, okay, don't run water out there, but what are going to be the road improvements and who's going to be responsible for that? Are they going to be taking more right away from us that are already out there to widen the road, you know, to allow for that? That's just concerns that I have. pertaining to it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Please come forward and state your name and address, or state your name and write your name and address on the pad.
Lynn Campbell. I'm not familiar with this property at all, but in general, I am very concerned about any kind of development or potential subdivision or light industry or anything that doesn't have a good water supply for emergency purposes. We live in a forest, and we know that those kinds of disasters can travel many, many miles. And I think for safety for the humans, the environment, and just in general, there should always be a source of dealing with potential disasters. And I guess the situation with the availability of water and having to use wells, that must be a real concern for those people in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Please come forward. State your name and write your name and address on the pad.
Good afternoon. I'm Cassie Byram, and I live at $600 Road, right there where the line will be starting for the property. So I bought my land a little over a year ago. My husband stood here and had to argue to get any kind of moving forward instead of cutting more trees down. And I'm seeing more and more development coming to our county. I mean, I am one that has moved to this town, but my father-in-law has lived here for 30 years. We fell in love with what it was 14 years ago when we lived here. My biggest concern for this phase one is what's next? Is there a subdivision? Like Terry, I had to drill almost 700 feet down for water. We live paycheck to paycheck. I work for the school systems. Am I going to have to, are you going to put city water through there? Am I going to have another bill if there is a subdivision that's put there? I'm okay with the 13 homes, but I also have 4 kids that roam that street. There's a lot of people on dirt bikes, 4-wheelers. What's the traffic going to be like? There was also one of your guys' companies was at our house when we were doing our zoning and the trenches and the dirt and the ditch line. And he also told one of the trucks hauling the lumber to quit using Dollar Road. They kept using it. Who's to say they're not going to keep doing what they're told not to do? That is my concern, because I can't afford for the changes that will come if a subdivision comes. I feel that I just bought my home a year and a half ago. Literally October will be a year since we moved into our home. Am I going to have to be forced to sell my home to move to a different part of the area that I can afford? We love Dawson, but you guys are literally making it more expensive and just bringing more and more people into this county. We've been here for years. You guys have great school systems. And I know people strive to be in our school systems. Because I am one of the staff. I'm not a teacher, I'm a para. And I love our staff. They put their heart in everything they do in our education. But please make sure this is the right decision. If it's 13, what else can come after this? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Write your name and address on the pad and state your name.
Hello, I'm Patsy Peterson, and she is my neighbor. We have lived on Dollar Road 611 for 29 years. When we moved there, we was told that there would never be no more houses built, the timber would not be cut. And just like she said, when they come in and started cutting the timbers, there was big trucks going up and down the road, flying down the roads. And if you pulled out of your driveway coming down that hill, they couldn't see you. They would run into you. And it's like, what happens with all the sewage if they put all that in there? I mean, I don't know, but it's been a nice little place to live, quiet, lots of animals. I'm an animal lover. I feed them all, but it's just, if they had to cut the road bigger, I would have no yard. I mean, it would be almost to my front porch, take my driveway. I mean, what are we to do? I mean, when we bought the land and lived there 29 years ago, we was told that it would never, be nothing built in there. So I don't know, but it just concerns me. I like it the way it is, but that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else to speak in opposition? Please write your name and address on the pad and state your name.
Okay, my name is Jerry Ward. I'm here to speak for me and my dad. I live at 375 Dollar Road and he lives at 315 Dollar Road. I agree with everything that they said with the water table specifically. Our water's run out several times this year and we had to wait a pretty long time to let it build back up. We can't afford to dig any deeper. I can only imagine what a subdivision would add to that, as well as the property line's really close to a creek. So if they're asking for any kind of buffer reduction, I don't think it can legally happen because of the creek being at the property line. Additionally, those big trucks coming up and down the road have already damaged the road enough that there is a seam going down the middle, and one half of the road is lower than the other half, and it collects water, which is dangerous for cars on the road when it's raining hard or anything like that. Additionally, where are the animals going to go? There's very few trees left in this county. It seems like we're trying to overdevelop and shove all these houses in that just take up the entire, 1 acre that they sit on. And I don't understand where all the animals are supposed to go. We already have, deer in the road constantly, which I mean, that's probably always happened. But anyway, I just don't know where they're going to go. And I don't want it to happen, but I know we can't change everything. So my dad wanted me to ask that there is a privacy fence if this does happen between the properties, a decent privacy fence. I was worried about drainage issues and it affecting the water table. Also the fire flows I was concerned about, but also I don't want it to, city water to bring in any more development. So I don't know which one's the bigger issue. I kind of just wish that we would slow down on the development because almost all the trees in this county are gone. If you look at the maps from 2013 on the survey website, and look at it every 2 years leading up to now, it's not even green anymore. And that's not at all what it was like my whole life. So, and that's changed, within that amount of time, it seems. And I know it's getting like that everywhere, but I would rather drive in Cumming right now than I would drive in Dawsonville. But the problem with that is that I have to drive through Dawsonville to get to Cumming. And now that I work in Roswell, I'm just getting sick of being around all of these people with roads that are not here to support them, lights that aren't even set up, even though they have the ability to be set up correctly. They're not even set up correctly to help the traffic flow better. It seems like our schools are full. And I just don't understand how we keep putting more houses in here, cookie cutter houses that are going for $900,000 or more that, you could probably blow on and they would fall over. So I don't know. I wish it wouldn't happen, but for my dad, I would say that he wants at least a privacy fence. And I was going to say no to the fire flows, but if that means that they would be bringing in a lot more development if we had to get city water, then I don't even know if I want to vote no for that now. So I'm not sure which one the better is for that, but that's all I have to say, I guess.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll close it to the board for discussion. Any discussion, gentlemen?
I know even privately maintained roads have to be built to a certain standard. And in that standards for a reason. So,
Is there a motion?
motion to deny.
Second.
Motion and a second to deny the variance. I can't see the results, so you'll have to.
I have one yes for you.
Well, okay, a yes would be yes to the motion.
I have a.
So do we need a revote?
Member Maloney, I have a second from member Sandby, and I have a vote from member Town. Registered a yay vote.
Is that, yeah, I'm voting yes for the motion to deny. Is that, what is your,
And you're at 4 for denial.
is that what you guys meant? Okay. Okay, motion is carried 4-0 denial. And that this will not go to the Board of Commissioners unless it's appealed. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, we'll now turn it back over to Chairman Hamby.
Planning update. Richard Osborne. Growth Management.
So for about 3 months, there was a community survey, and normally when there are surveys, we typically look for, a couple of hundred responses. And this was a community survey specifically about growth, about residential development. And so instead of a couple of hundred responses, and in this case, we used a product that was individualized responses and would kick you out. I know because I did, and a couple of our staff tried to game the system and fill out the survey multiple times, and it was not reasonably possible. I'm sure with advanced technology and somebody who's a hacker, I'm sure they could do it if they cared that much. But for the most part, this individualized survey, there were 1,367 responses to these questions specifically about development and growth and the fact that we're in a moratorium from March to September on new residential development rezoning requests. So the questions were first related to growth management. What part of the county is most important to you? And that was sort of a split vote. A good many people, 31%, were most interested in the rural areas, but also a high amount, 31% were concerned about the Highway 400 corridor, but there was no majority consensus in that question. The second question was about when considering residential growth, is the county growing too fast, too slow, about the right amount? And this was the highest consensus. 83% noted that the county was growing too fast. The third question was about when residential growth occurs, where's the most appropriate place? In the city, near Highway 400, near the Forsyth County line, near Highway 53. And there was no majority consensus. The highest percentage was 44% said that when residential growth occurs, the most appropriate location would be near Highway 400. The next question was, when residential growth occurs, which type of housing is most appropriate for this county? And I'll note just generally, because I didn't at the beginning, that of these 1,367 responses, 99% noted that they were Dawson County residents. So again, for this question, which housing type is most appropriate for this county? There was majority consensus. 68% of people said just single-family homes was most appropriate for Dawson County. Next question was about single-family homes when they are built. What is most important to you? Landscaping, the way the homes look, price affordability, size of the homes, or size of the properties or lot size. And there was majority consensus. 57% of the respondents noted size of the properties or size of lots is most important to them when new single-family homes are built. Next question notes, when growth occurs, which area of the county most concerns you? And this was kind of a split vote. So 33% said the 400 corridor, 37% said the rural area. Rural areas of the county most concerns them when growth occurs, but no majority consensus. Next question was, based on the population growth, is there a shortage of new single-family homes in Dawson County? And there was majority consensus. 56% said no, there is not a shortage of new single-family homes in Dawson County. Next question was, is there a shortage of a variety of affordable housing in Dawson County? And there was no majority consensus. The highest vote was 45% said, no, there is not a shortage of a variety of affordable housing in the county. Next question was, when residential growth occurs, what most concerns you? Environmental impacts, public safety, school system impacts, traffic, or water and or sewer availability. And there was majority consensus. 54% said traffic most concerns them when residential growth occurs in the county. And then we just had a couple of questions about age range and, where do you live? Do you live in Dawson County or not? And again, 99% lived in the county who filled it out. And then there was a variety of ages. There was not a majority of range of age, that filled this out. It was all ages. So that's the survey results. Do y'all have any questions about that community growth survey? Okay. Next item is an official item that is something that y'all discussed. I mentioned to you at the last meeting that is related to our moratorium on new residential development rezonings from March to September, and related to that, the county code proposed changes. So last month we had it as a discussion item, just informal, but we did open up for any public comment. But this time on this official agenda, it is an official item that does need to be a public hearing officially. After I give a summary, open the public hearing, see if anybody wants to speak for or against, have any kind of comments, then close that, and then y'all have discussion. And then if y'all feel comfortable moving forward, y'all would make a recommendation vote to the Board of Commissioners. This is, again, part of the review of development matters during the moratorium, and staff reviewed a variety of sections of the county code. April 2023 was the last date of significant code changes related to growth and development approved by the Board of Commissioners. Staff obtained input from local citizens and other property owners, business owners, long-range plan committee members, Planning Commission, Board of Commission members, as well as input from staff in various county departments. The county attorney's office has reviewed the draft. They provided us with a lot of needed changes, and so we added those. Proposed changes, I won't go through everything. I'll just cover some of the highlights. I've got this on the website, and I'll be glad to, if somebody wants email, hard copy, if somebody wants to meet with me individually, if somebody wants to talk about it on the phone, if anybody wants to talk about it, I'll be glad to, because if Planning Commission recommends it, Board of Commissioners September 4th would, at their 5 o'clock work session, discuss it. And then Board of Commissioners on September 18 during the voting session would potentially vote on it. And if they have, more questions or something like that, they can always table it. But September 18 would be the earliest time for a potential vote. The proposal is to add standards for event centers to be incorporated into the short-term rental as well as land use sections. Confirm that a short-term rental is intended to be with rare exceptions, like possibly in an event center, one main single-family house on the lot. And any new proposed short-term rentals would need to be on a decent-sized lot, minimum half an acre. I know there are many parts of the county that are rural that have 5, 10, 25, 100-acre lots, but there are some lake lots that were platted 75 years ago that are very small, even if they're on septic. There are some 1/4 and 1/3 acre lots. If you're very close to your neighbor on 1/3 or less than half an acre lot, a potential new short-term rental could have more of an impact. We've heard from citizens about nuisance concerns, noise, parking, things like that. And so that half acre would be the minimum. Any existing current ones would just become legal non-conforming. They could still take place as long as it continued and did not lapse. New proposed event centers would require a zoning case. So new proposals would not be allowed by right. So with zoning, something that is, Coal Creek or the Revere, one of our many event centers, with any new one, and I'm not talking about existing ones, but any new proposal, it would need a zoning case, a special use, to come before the Planning Commission and be recommended and then voted on for approval by the Board of Commissioners. Chapter 117 is the Highway 400 Overlay District, and we've got a lot of guidelines. So it talks about should and may, and that's not enforceable. It's good language, it's good advice, good recommendations, but it's not enforceable. So the proposal is to change many of those requirements to shall and must so that they can be standards. They can be requirements that staff can enforce. Within the land use section, chapter 121, that's the most changes. There would be less townhomes allowed than are currently allowed. And there would be a larger amount of open space for new residential developments. There would be more significant architectural standards for residential developments of 50 or more units, as well as more significant architectural standards for commercial. Noting that we do have a planned commercial district that has not been successful, and there have been some concerns about it. It would be frozen. Any existing property would stay zoned that way, but nobody could in the future propose to rezone property to planned commercial district. Our existing smaller single-family zoning districts like RS2, RS3 would have larger proposed lot sizes. There would be larger buffers for multifamily, commercial, industrial districts. Anything that touches single-family residential would have larger buffer requirements. For residential development rezonings of 50 or more units, there would be, before a zoning case comes to y'all as Planning Commission, there would be an applicant required pre-application meeting with both staff and separately with the community, where it would be a community information meeting. Any property owner within 500-foot radius of the subject property would get notification, and this meeting would be during a weekday, not on a holiday, in the evening at a central location where it's accessible to as many people as possible. Restrict the amount of variances that can occur for various standards like setback and lot size. Cut out the idea of exemptions. A variance is typically intended to be looking at a number. If the number was 15, somebody can propose to increase it to 20 or decrease it to 10, but the intention is not to exempt any standard by variance. So that would go away. Change the density calculation to be a more straightforward approach, to be net acreage, which is very typical of most locations. The idea of change the density calculation from net acre to gross acre, so that typical of most Georgia counties, if you've got 100 acres and there's a certain zoning for 2 units per acre, then that would be a total of 200 units allowed. Right now, the net acreage calculation with constrained lands is something that's not easily understood or accessible, and is not typical of counties anywhere in Georgia, including North Georgia counties that touch. Add a requirement that new standards would apply even if a property is already zoned, even if there's some vacant land zoned multifamily or zoned very small lot single family. All these new regulations about architectural standards, more landscaping, more buffers, bigger setbacks, that would all apply. So that would probably result in cutting down on the number of units and having more trees. Add a limitation on the number of rezonings per month to where it could just be 1 per month residential development, and that residential development would be 50 or more units. So only 1 per month, and then of all rezonings, max of 5 per month. We don't have that right now, but the whole goal of consensus citizen input and the Board of Commissioners was they don't want to get anywhere near Forsyth County level, Hall County level, Cherokee level of lots and lots of development proposals coming in. They want to slow things down. That's the whole point of this. And then Chapter 133 is the subdivision standards. That's really Public Works. And so Public Works Department proposes new stricter regulations for new residential developments. So if y'all will please, before y'all have discussion, open the public hearing, ask if anybody wants to speak for or against, or provide us with any comments, and then close that public hearing.
Hearing from Mr. Richard Osborne, our new community director. We have 355 pages of new changes before us. Hopefully, you've had opportunity to look at it. If not, I suggest you take an opportunity to go to the website, find it, look, see what we're looking at as far as new changes go. That being said, is there anyone to speak or ask questions in regard to the new updates to our zoning? Yes, if you would come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium.
I'm Tony Bradley. I ain't been in this county all my life, but I've been here a good part of it. My wife spoke earlier, y'all know her. But anyway, what I come to talk about, I like what he said about slowing down the growth. I'll give you an example. When I was a child, I lived in Forsyth County, down on 141 at Pleasant View Church. Everybody down there knowed their neighbor. Everybody know everything. They respected their neighbors. Okay. And another thing is, I can remember when 141 was gravel. That tells you my age. Okay. And I can remember the gravel going around the courthouse, which my mother worked at. And, but y'all don't realize what a gym you have. This county is a gym. We got forced out. When 400 came up, it took my father's home. I mean, it took it. And we had no place to go. Well, we moved north a little bit. We went to Shawnee. I went to school at Shawnee. Went to school at Forsyth County High School when there was only one. Go to Forsyth County now and look, and I dare say probably none of y'all can tell me how many schools is in it. How many of these high schools? And if that's the type of place that these people want, let them move back to Forsyth County. Because where this comes, what comes with it, is something you don't want to see. I was a police officer down there for a while, so I do understand it. And one of my best friends died serving Forsyth County, Bill Cantrell. He treated me like a son. But with growth comes crime. With growth comes all this other stuff. This is a gem. I mean, it is literally a gem up here in these mountains. And if you look, probably a lot of Forsyth County has moved up here. You go up there where we live, that tract of land that he's wanting to sell, I got no grievance against the man. Got nothing against it. Other fact, I can't sleep and I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. When there's these side by side running and the glass in my house is vibrating. You think that ain't loud? Ask your deputies how loud it was. And if I could have found them that night, I'd have probably ended up in jail, to be honest. And I'm a Christian man, but I still probably would have been in jail. But he took that land and he raped it. Go up there and look at it. Take time. Cut to the bare dirt. I deer hunt all over this country. I elk hunt, I do everything else. But what they done to that land up there is sacrilege. So don't tell me they care about what's going on. I've sat here and heard a lot tonight. Kept my mouth shut. But this ain't right. So y'all keep that in your heads. We elected y'all. We got everybody in here. We hope that you thought about this county. And we're still praying for you. We're praying that you'll make the right decisions. So keep that in mind. Not everybody's after $1. Some people are after a lifestyle. And that's what I hope and I pray that God puts on y'all's hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak to the proposed changes to the zoning? If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on a piece of paper on the podium, and state your name.
Hi there. My name is Ruby Daniel, and I live at 28 Pine Knoll Drive. So I was someone who helped work with Richard on these ideas that we've been working on because I have been concerned about the growth for a while now. I've been in front of y'all a couple of times now and in front of our commissioners to discuss the growth, especially concerning the Dawson Forest area. With all these developments that have been coming in, we know it's not going to stop. We know growth is going to come. We just have to figure out how to slow it and build in a way that is going to benefit the members of our community. And I think the approach that we're taking and the changes that are being made, I think this is a positive thing. And I think that a lot of these align with a lot of the goals that we have as a community and what we want, limiting the townhouse numbers, as well as making changes to where the currently changed the ones that are already under townhouse and things like that would have to follow the standards that we set forth going forward, as well as taking out wishy-washy language that could developers look at and go, oh, perfect, this is our loophole. We got to get rid of all those loopholes so that they can come forward and bring what we want for the community, not what they want, because they're going to do the bare minimum every time because it comes down to the dollar amount. And if we allow them to do the bare minimum, that's what we're going to get. So I think we should set our standards high and look to attract developers who want to have the same vision as us in Dawsonville and not just any developer. And I think this is a great start to that direction. Thank you.
Anyone else speak to the proposed changes?
I don't have much to say.
Please write your name and address.
Okay, it's Jerry Ward, 375 Dollar Road. I just wanted to say that the wording with the loopholes is something that he said a minute ago. I really didn't hear all of it and I can't remember, but he said something along the lines of any property that was already set a certain way would have to change. And I feel like there could be a possibility for a loophole there. Because if it might not always go the way that we want it to go. So let's say that we want developers to come in that develop less, but if the wording in there is that if it's already developed, if it's already set as a certain kind of zone or whatever, that they would, or the rules were already set, if the rules change, the places that were already there with certain rules would have to change. It just might go the opposite way, so we'd have to be careful with the loopholes with that wording as well. Just saying that the past have to change too could go negatively, just as much as it could go positively, if y'all are not careful. That's it.
Anyone else? At this time, we'll close the board discussion. Gentlemen? Any discussion on the proposed changes? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Move in a second to approve and send this forward to the Board of Commissioners.
I broke it.
Motion is carried. And that brings us to item K, adjournment. Is there a motion?
To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
We are adjourned. Thank you.